So it's like, I don't know, it's just kind of like it's been in the family. So when they asked, obviously I was honored because.
So it wasn't, and no pun intended, it was organic.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, like they got their committee of guys. You know what I mean? It's also like DJ Doctor's baby. You know what I mean? Because he's a guy who's been a day oneer for them. Who's kind
I actually met Doctor.
Wants to have a face
at the Royals Music Series. He was down there.
Yeah,
Gully was hosting an event we did when we came down. Chopping it out with Doctor.
Yeah,
you're gonna have him down on the show. So big up, shout out to the man there, DJ.
Shout out to DJ Doctor.
That guy rides for us.
Yeah, that guy's absolutely.
And that's one thing that I noticed with that when I was talking to them there a little bit after the show is it just that unity. Yeah. I think that's been missing a lot. Again, I hate to beat that bush, but in Toronto, everyone kind of feels like they need to do it on their own. Well, which I mean, I get.
There's a weird thing in this battle culture that everyone looks at it as like it's going to be this negative thing. And in actuality, like it brings everyone together, and everybody loves it. You know, like I go out there and it's like the amount of rappers I see. You know what I mean? That are like, you know, big guys like Drake got behind this. He doesn't have a reason.
That's crazy. And then
he don't outside of it's great. You know what I mean?
You know,
and like
financially, you know, obviously he made a little bit of dough off it, but that's not why he's doing it. He was good before.
Yeah, but it's like I remember really hearing Steve Nash be like, at this point in my career when I'm making 9 to 15 million a year, like, well, if I'm gonna be like your mascot for your company, like I gotta like know what's up with your company and like care about it.
And that's good to see that too. I think where it's not, you know, he's obviously getting all these endorsement deals and stuff for maybe some things that he doesn't even care about. Yeah, it's just you cut me that check, all right, cool, I'll bear it, I'll talk about it, whatever. But if it's something you genuinely care about, like battle rap or just music in general, you definitely feel it again. Not to get back to the organic pun, but it feels a lot more organic, and the people do notice that and then when you come back to, you guys have just released a project, did you?
Yeah.
So we'll get into that a little bit.
I was just going to shout out first. I want to shout out Tommaso again. I'm trying to get that sponsorship.
We'll work. Yeah, we'll definitely after this we'll kick him a freestyle or something after this.
They were like, oh, those are like left field.
Them European cats.
Yeah, they went out there, and what are they doing? And people just didn't really get it. And we would come home. We would go and see like RC doing Real Freaks, and he'd be like, yo, so like, what's going on in that part of the world? And I can't even say that I necessarily had enough time to really grasp what was happening, because at that point Toronto was part of the build. Drake was on the come up. These things were happening, and we wanted to be involved in that. We didn't want to be like, oh, these guys left and try to do it elsewhere. But it was a huge learning curve for us, right? We had to come back and say.
But as young artists, how do you say no to a potentially one?
Wow,
you guys need to.
A lot of the time, it's like I remember feeling like that, like you feeling like you get your first deal, like I made it.
Oh, but that's really, I think, when the
this guy had your retail job with your hand on your head, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to fucking, fuck, man. It's not like that.
No, but at the same time, Toronto, man. Like, he was 16 when the first 12-inch came out. Right. And I was 20, and it was a new thing, you know. I'm like, yo, Rosh, we gotta head down to New York and do this radio promo. You know what I mean? Head over, and it was my first deal with Fat Beats, trying to figure that out, and like trying to figure out paperwork on your own. And it was like I felt like I was
tough. I remember my first contract, looking at it like, what do you might as well be in a different language.
Yeah. And I was behind. I was 19, 20. I was already behind. Cats I knew at 15, 16, like getting offers, and I'm like, yo, what, and it's just you feel like you have a little bit of a crutch from Toronto, but. We turned it around. The city turned it around.
So do you guys feel that going out and doing, and getting out to those other markets, being Europe and stuff, was a hindrance or a benefactor for you guys in the career-wise?
I think it's definitely, it's one of those things where it's like you can look at it in any way you want to do, but it's definitely like a great path. It's dope. We learned like a ton.
We got some great
groundwork. We met amazing people.
Dilated Peoples brought us up. Ev was one of the first artists that like fully took notice and gave me personally a shot, and by proxy the rest of the crew. We toured with Babu, and we did do some touring with Dilated, and that was probably some of the greatest learning experiences.
Because for me as a hip hop fan, first and foremost, something like that would just be, that's a bucket list thing.
Oh, dude, it was.
That's the kind of show I'd be doing for free. Don't be telling promoters I said that. Hopefully they're not listening. But as a hip hop fan, that's the kind of show I'd be like, yeah, okay.
Oh, I'd be geeked, man. I'd be geeked. Like Ev would call me on the phone. I'd be geeked, man. Like 26, 27. I'd be geeked. Like, yo, like, are we really talking right now?
We're doing what?
Yeah,
What's happening right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yo, can you remix this joint? I'm gonna send it right now to you. I'm like, yeah.
I really have no choice to do it at that point.
Absolutely.
So you guys were touring out there, like you had your own tour set up, or you kind of?
We did a lot of stuff with them out here actually.
Yeah,
we ended up connecting with them in Canada and doing like the classic like Ottawa, Montreal shit runs, and then like we ended up building with them, toured again with Babu further, and did like
we just did Canada from
Ash, Blue, like all of
Yeah,
them.
we ended up doing we toured with Fat Sean.
So it ends up being like they come to our cipher in the words of Fash. You know,
well, the biggest singles that we ever put out
more
with all those.
Because I personally just through my personal stories, I've just gotten through that within the last 2 years, man. The last 2 years, it's like, all right, I got my peoples now. Now I can focus on what needs to be focused on, and that makes everything easier.
I mean, we were fortunate. We did that early, right? We did that early. What it also didn't allow us to do was necessarily create as fast as we wanted to. Because you find those things early.
You become a caveman, right? That's the thing. It's like if you're in your lab all the time, it's good and bad, right? Because it's like great. You don't want to fall off with like what's happening.
We're constantly feeling ourselves.
And I think that's the one as a real like hip hop, and I'm a boom bapper. I love that sound. But when the OGs start saying like, I'm not willing to try something new, that gets like, no, come on, man. I'm supposed to be looking up to you.
It's all about adaptation. Absolutely.
Wanting and willing to change and adapting to the way things are going. And when I see the OGs doing it, I'm like, come on, man. Because I've heard a few of my favorite producers, and they're just like, I'm not trying that. I don't want to. I'm not doing it. No way. And I get it, but it's like, come on, man. Well, I'm not saying you have to go full out Britney Spears
out trap to be on some like current. You don't have to. It's just like you can't. I just feel like if you're gonna like be in hip hop and you want to add to something, you know what I mean?
You should be able to. Not be afraid, because when people say, like my parents are always like, oh, hip hop. When I think of hip hop, I'm thinking of gangs, black people, saggy pants, and that, and guns, and all that. But for me, it taught me how to stand up on my own and not be afraid of.
Sure, and it's all of those things.
All of them. But it also is all of the other first things. But for those who like us, who are really in the culture, who do all these shows, you guys have been around for many years, I'd say. So for those guys who are actually out there doing it, it's crazy that hip hop in 2016 still has this aura of craziness when some of the biggest selling records, period, are urban. Whatever you want to call them. Oh, you produce all them? All them joints, sir. Hey. All right, so we're tying that back into produce wear all them hats, huh?
Wow.
How long you been producing for?
Wow.
Oh wow.
I mean, realistically, like professionally, like the last few years, but we've been putting out records.
No beat makers ever said like I never really, when you see like what's his name, Jody Hyper, what's his fucking Riff Raff, when he came out, he's like, just started rapping like yesterday, and now I got all. I'm like, huh? But you never hear that with a beat maker. Never once in the history of beat makers ever be like, oh, it started yesterday.
Yeah,
I think I look at it when I started earning, I started earning credits and started getting money. You know what I mean? Like that changes things. Like where you can say, oh, okay, cool. Like I can cash a check off of something that
I
somebody
used to
feels,
do and used to tell me I could never do. And I'm sure you've had those moments where people used to be,
Well, I didn't really even think of myself as such until, realistically,
what was the first moment you had where you're like, you know what, screw it, I'm doing it. This is what I'm gonna do. Or when I genuinely.
Very good question.
That's it, probably. Depends if you're talking on rap or you're talking on music production.
No, for production, like when you were, because you said you're now you're cashing checks.
Well, there's the whole jump off was we had a joint called Yellow when we were Dilated, and right before this, had it come out yet? Even?
Well, we had cut Nobody with Evidence first.
Yeah.
And we had caught the attention, and he was really just really thinking about his debut solo record at that point, and he was saying, I was really geeked, and then I was like, this is probably a good time to get at them about doing a record as a group, because really at that time, we hadn't heard all of them featured on somebody else's record.
NoSoSelf.net will take you to all of our social media, which is probably the easiest way to do it, or Twitter, Instagram.
It's 5 N's. 5 N's. Notes to self. 5 N's. It will change eventually, but it'll probably go. Our tag for years, right? Our tag for years was notes to self. Like, it was just like one of those things. I don't even know where it came from. I think it came from like hanging with Evan Alk, and it was like, you don't have a tag? I'll just do this. And I was like, okay. Like it was one of those. Yeah, it was literally like one of those things. Yeah, just do this.
I'm gonna start my name. This is my crew. So it's different.
No, I think it might have even actually come from a record that we did early. With Alchemist is on the last album. He does the hook on a song called All of the Above, and I think it was manufactured because we had been sitting on that song since like our debut record.
Yeah.
And it sort of just was like, it just happened. It was like one of those things, I'm gonna take that and tag this and do that. You know what I mean? It just,
and especially
we didn't think about it.
Came out sick.
Yo, so sick. So dope.
It came out pretty toy.
That's a fact, for sure, So we got all the social media. First and foremost, thank you guys for coming by.
Absolutely, thank you.
We'll definitely have to get you guys. You're gonna get the whole squad out here next time.
Yep.
Yeah, some rapping.
Yep. Yeah, like just get these guys to rap for an hour.
That's it. We won't even talk.
No, for real. Like just get these guys to.
Well, I mean, if that Tyco is anything, my man, you got bars for days, so we're gonna have to
trust.
Put them to the test.
You ain't seen nothing.
We heard.
Right.
Young Tykes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So for my guest today, Roshin.
Bronze. Knows yourself, BBRC.
I am, of course, your host, DJ Tyco, for another episode of The Vintage Vault right here on Maximum FM. We out.